Welcome back, and please join me in welcoming OYO Vacation Homes Global CEO Tobias Wann in conversation with Skift Senior Research Analyst Wouter Geerts.
Hi everyone. So today joining me is Tobias Wann. Tobias joined the Ad Leisure Group in 2015 as their CEO. He expanded the company quite drastically with a number of acquisitions. And in May 2019, then OYO acquired Ad Leisure Group and its portfolio of what by then I think was around 30,000 rentals. You have brands under that umbrella like Belvilla, Dan Center, some very strong brands in Europe. In February of this year, you even acquired TUI Wolters as well, which I think added another 17,000 or so rentals. So clearly, you've been very busy. It's been an eventful time. And as if that's not enough, now obviously we're in very unprecedented times. And just last week, you've now announced that you're stepping aside as the CEO of OYO Vacation Homes to pursue new opportunities. So there's a lot to discuss. We only have 15 minutes, so we're going to go straight into it. I kind of wanted to start going back a little bit and understanding. Everyone knows about OYO. They've come on the scene very rapidly. What do you feel that they saw in short-term rentals? Because to me, it seems that in Europe, particularly, they've been really focusing on short-term rentals for growth rather than hotels, which they've done in the rest of the world. So tell me a bit more about that.
Yeah. So thanks for the intro, Wouter. It's glad to be here. Interesting times indeed. OYO so I know Ritesh for many, many years, and I know and I've been following Ritesh and Maninder in their basically quest to build a global hospitality business. And from early on, maybe probably 3 years ago, we already started to kind of elaborate on what the vacation home business and industry actually is about, and especially the fact that in Europe we have a very strong, established, long history of successful vacation home business. Right? I don't like to call it alternative accommodations because that many people use that term, but that implicates basically that it is, I feel, somewhat inferior. So I like to actually stay with vacation rental business because in these times, as we know, it is a very superior product. And OYO had realized that they wanted to enter that space because it perfectly complements basically their plans in the hospitality industry. And we continued to talk over the years, and then probably 5 to 6 months before May 2019, things became a bit more concrete. And OYO already had a homes business. It was much smaller than what we added after the acquisition, but it is not that OYO had never actually thought about this already. It was just a big step into this industry.
Yeah, and I mean, you mentioned some of the main drivers there. Like I said, you earlier this year you acquired a new company as well, TUI Wolters. I'm sure you had big plans of helping with the integration or for that, but then obviously COVID-19 hit. So can you tell us a little bit more about how OYO Vacation Homes has been impacted by the current crisis?
Yeah, I think we were no different to anyone else in this industry, whether it is hotels, cruises, or vacation rentals. We by February we clearly saw the first signs of first regions being going on the lockdown. As we all remember, that was in Italy. And then from there on, it rapidly spread it, and by March, April, the business came to a complete halt. And not only that, obviously, we all had to learn to deal with it without any way to prepare for it, or without any experience that we had maybe from different cases in previous years, right? And this was a very complex thing to deal with, as you all know who are in this industry, because it's not even only different country perspectives that we had to take into account. It was those policies were changed on a daily basis, and regions were going into a lockdown on a daily basis or starting to open up sometime later on. So there was an immense complexity that we all had to deal with. And by the end of April, we started to actually see some signs of recovery, early signs of recovery. And then May and June have been on a continuous upswing, so to say. And by now, we've been going through the best month of June we ever had.
Yeah, you mentioned that backstage as well, which is obviously interesting. I mean, do you feel, and actually I should mention, you are sitting in a vacation rental at the moment, I believe. So do you feel that travelers' perceptions of short-term rentals, vacation rentals have changed due to this crisis? Are you seeing new segments, new demographics that are using your properties?
Yes. So I think what we are seeing is a combination of many things. First of all, I'm 100% convinced that the product vacation home and vacation rental is far superior in these times to many other hospitality products that are in the market. And I'm not saying this to basically make myself better than others. But the point is, people are looking for distance. It's clear. I mean, everybody should ask themselves how they are responding to this crisis, and people are looking for distance. That doesn't mean that people want to lock themselves in all the time, but I mean, a house or an apartment that you have for your own is certainly superior to anything where you need to share. In a hotel, you need to share at least the communal areas. You need to probably share the breakfast buffet or the restaurant areas or whatsoever. This is all not being the case in a vacation rental. And then the second thing, and that has always been a very strong element of our product offering, obviously, people who go to vacation rentals usually go, or many of them mostly go by car, that independent of COVID. And now the fact that we have a very strong offering that is responding to those two needs, basically separate homes, individual homes or apartments, reachable by car, that has helped tremendously to come back strong. And I actually foresee, at least for the probably next 2 to 3 years, that we will see a big increase in demand that we will all need to kind of address.
Interesting. And I mean, shorter term, borders are opening left, right, and center in Europe. What are you seeing? I mean, I spoke a little bit this morning. If people were up early enough, they would have seen a short presentation about some of the stuff that we're seeing on our side. What are you seeing in terms of where recovery is really picking up in Europe?
Yes, I mean, it is exactly how you describe it. It is literally probably travel within the country is primary, where you have enough of a supply and enough of basically nice homes, which is mostly the case, obviously, in Germany, in the Netherlands, in Austria, right? So there's a strong tendency to stay in the country or actually cross one border. For Germans, that means they would drive to the Netherlands, they would drive to Denmark. Big basically surge in demand for Danish summer houses. Always been a strong product to Germans, but this year it's been phenomenal. Austria, the moment Austria had actually said that they would welcome Germans, that was the moment the booking spiked in Austria. So draw a radius, basically a drivable radius around a traveler's household, and you actually see where people are going currently.
Interesting. I mean, when we talk about that, it's such a fast-moving process, and I think policy is playing a big role here. I think we're seeing that there's very much mixed messages, obviously, between countries, but even between municipalities, and then in some cases, hotels are allowed to open before rentals, or the other way around. So how are you seeing that, and how hard is it for a global company like yourself to really manage that?
Yes, I think I'd mentioned it a couple of minutes ago. That complexity was probably one of the most overwhelming things. Plus, obviously, the sheer amounts of cancellations, rebookings that we had to handle on a constant basis. But we had immediately after COVID-19 appeared, we had formed a team of experts, internal experts that were monitoring basically every country and then break this up on even on a regional or county basis. We were running this business on daily updated spreadsheets around what is possible and what is not possible, and who can go and who cannot go. For example, you, Wouter, you're Dutch. I live in the Netherlands. The Netherlands never shut down, right? So travel was always allowed in the Netherlands for Dutch people. But then the first parts in the Netherlands on the Dutch coast decided to not open up beaches or close down vacation parks. So we had to basically obey the rules on a very, very granular basis, and that was complex.
Yeah, and I think earlier this year, and Rafa, our CEO, mentioned it at the start of this today. We write mega trends at the beginning of the year, and one of the mega trends I contributed to was around short-term rentals. And I said in there that this would be the year for on-the-ground brands. So rather than the big platforms, which obviously will continue to be very important, I really felt that, and through speaking to the industry, that on-the-ground brands like you have, the property managers would really start to push their brand. Is that still the case? Do you still think that, like yourself, I mentioned a few, you have very, very well-known brands like Belvilla, like Dan Center. Will they still be very important? Will it maybe be more important? Will people trust those big brands more so than individual hosts? Let me know what you feel about that.
Yes, I think the big advantage of a brand like ours and others in the industry is that they can be loaded with a promise, and that is extremely important these days, right? You want to offer a consistent cleaning protocol, for example, and you want to promise this to individual travelers that you say, if you stay in a Belvilla, we will follow this cleaning protocol, and you can be sure that your house or your apartment will actually be up to the standard you needed. This is the big advantage of a big brand like ours, and we will continue to actually leverage that by working on those protocols and then working on those brand promises, because that's what travelers are looking for.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, so we have about 2 minutes left. I wanted to just touch upon obviously what you feel is going to happen in the future, but also your future will be very different than what it might have been otherwise. So tell me a little bit more about how you're leaving OYO Vacation Homes. Do you have any plans for the future? What are you seeing in the market? And maybe rather than the CEO hat of OYO, what you feel the future is going to bring, what is your personal opinion of what's going to happen?
Yes. So first of all, I mean, one thing I want to make very clear, me leaving is something that Ritesh, OYO CEO, founder and CEO, and Maninder and others, we had discussed this in May 2019. And I said, I will do everything to make sure that we have a perfect transition. But after 12 months or so, it was always my plan to actually move on and do something else. These 12 months ultimately became 14 because of COVID and me. I wanted to make sure that there's the right moment in time for me to hand it over. There's this interesting situation now that for the first time probably since school, I don't have a specific plan, and I want it to be. So I'm not going to tell you any plans because I purposely don't have any. But probably over the next couple of weeks or months, I'm sure that something will crystallize. The industry, I could not be more bullish about this industry. Yes, we are dealing with obviously still some of the aftermath of COVID, and we will have a new normal that will probably not be the old normal for a while. But as we had just described, I mean, the product of a vacation rental and the product of a managed vacation rental, like Belvilla and Dance Center actually run it, is something that is, in my view, clearly superior over other parts of the industry and the hospitality industry. So I remain very, very bullish. I am predicting limited supply meeting a huge demand, and that is clearly something you can basically see in the industry going forward.
Great. Thanks, Tobias. We've run out of time, but really interesting, and appreciate your time. Thanks very much.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.